I signed my soul on the dotted line.
Action! And we're live from my bedroom, season 8 for sale. And we're live at 700 Dundas Road, east of Mississauga. And we're talking to Dom. He's an actor. Also, he's a trainer, and he did some boxing too. So, hi, Dom.
Hi, how are you?
We're good. And we're going to ask you some questions. Okay, so my first question is, when did you want to start being like a boxer?
Well, I started about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was always exercising all the time, but I didn't find the exercising was tough enough. So I knew that boxing was really, really hard. So I came here and I spoke to Andrew, who's the head trainer, and I said, I really want to exercise and I want you to make it difficult for me. So he took me through everything I needed to know about boxing, and took a couple of years, but here we are a couple of years later, and I'm in love with it.
Okay, that's great that you followed your passion of exercising and then just came into boxing because you wanted a challenge.
Yeah, I wanted something harder. Sometimes when you're exercising and it becomes easy, and then if it becomes easy, then you're kind of lazy, but you need something harder and harder and harder, and then you're always got a challenge in front of you. So you always want to meet your challenge, exceed it, and then go even further and further.
What influenced you to keep on going?
Well, I've never been the type of person to be lazy. If you're lazy and you're always sitting on your couch and watching TV, playing video games, that's no good. So I always like to challenge myself. I always like to put a goal, and then you have to work hard to get to your goal. And that's the same thing for school. It's the same thing for your job. It's the same thing for exercising. You always got to have a goal, and you always got to fight hard to get to your goal.
What is your mindset when you're in the ring?
Well, when you're in the ring, strangely enough, you know what? You have to be very calm. You have to be very, very calm, because when you're calm, you can think, okay? And so you have to be thinking about punches. You have to be thinking about protecting yourself. You have to be thinking about moving. And all of that you do while you're staying very calm, because the more nervous you get, you forget everything. And if you forget everything, then you get beaten up.
Oh, yeah. What do you think about the saying, your offense is your best defense?
Well, that is, it could apply. It could apply. If you're very strong and you know how to throw a lot of punches, then that could be sort of like your defense, because, you know, you're putting the person back. And in a sense, he's on the defense. You barely have to work on your defense, right? But everybody's different. Everybody is different. Everyone has their own strategy. And you got to remember, when you're throwing punches, you get tired, right? So if you get tired too quickly because you're throwing so many punches, then you're going to be running out of breath, and then the other guy's going to attack you, right? So you got to really pace yourself. You throw punches, you work on your defense, and you work at your pace.
Now I heard that you're training here at Huff Gym. So what's your favorite part about training here?
Well, my favorite part is you get a client who comes in, and the client doesn't know very much about boxing. But then after you start spending a couple of weeks or a month with them, then you're going to notice that they're getting really, really good. And the things that you're teaching them become very easy for them. So to watch them go from almost no ability to be very good is really, really thrilling. For example, 6 months ago, we had a kid come in here with no experience in boxing. And I taught him 6 months later. Okay, we taught him. 6 months later, he went to a tournament and he won the tournament. That's in 6 months. So could you imagine how good that feels? A guy comes here, barely knows anything, and he's so devoted to it, he's so loyal to it, that 6 months later, we take him to a tournament and he wins.
Okay, that's great. And I have one last question for you. Actually, I have a couple more. Never mind. Okay, my question is, when you were boxing in the ring, what was your biggest audience watching you?
The biggest audience is, truthfully, the biggest audience is going to come in June, when I'm fighting in June. That's going to be an audience of probably about 300 people, and they're going to be paying